presentation is going to be recorded. In fact, I just started the recording now. You can probably see in the upper left-hand corner that there's a little button that says recording. So that assures you that if you ever record your own things, people know, oh, I'm being recorded. So you're not hiding it on them. In fact, I encourage you to record your items. So in case someone misses or what have you, they can go back. It's really your choice. There's no, oh, I have to do this, but I like to. No requirements. But we'll talk about how to do it, where it goes, how to put it somewhere where people can see it, you know, all that fun stuff. So we have another minute or two. I'm going to be back in 1 second.
Gallery view where I've got everybody. You know the gallery view? Enter full screen. Ah. There we go. You don't see me. How do I get back to the other one? Oh, speaker view. This way you show whoever's speaking shows. Enter full screen. Oh, I don't like that one. Oh, I see. Huh.
Okay, we're back. Hi, everybody. So like I said, we're going to wait another minute or two, and then we'll start up. Can't penalize all of you for being on time. But what I generally like to do is, it's cherry blossom time. Behind Jeanette.
Yes. Yes.
Nice.
Yes.
I took a class.
I could tell. What Jeanette has is what's called a virtual background. You can sort of place yourself wherever you are. I'm not actually going to talk about that. It's a video setting, but you can. You do require a reasonably fast machine, and that will not work on an iPad. So for those of you joining on an iPad or an iPhone, that is not an available feature. So I'll give another minute, and then we'll start right up. So thank you all for coming, and we'll get ready in just a minute.
Oops. Oh, that's great. I wanted to. Wait a minute. There we go. Oops.
Okay, so welcome in everybody. My name is Mike Scarra. I'm your host tonight. And tonight we'll be discussing how to use Zoom. Now, I am working on the assumption that your goal is to use it as a host, as if you were going to teach something.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the point of view from which I am going to work. So my job today is to essentially show you some of the features on how you could go about making your presentations work as cleanly as possible. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do something called pinning the video. And what that means is I am forcing you to look at my ugly mug rather than anyone else who's in the room. And what that does is that prevents the focal point from going off what I want to show. The other thing, and the most common thing that you will do, other than show a video or a live shot of yourself, is something called sharing a screen. So I'm actually going to do that now. So what I do is there's a button on the kind of the bottom center that says share screen. So I'm going to be working off this handout. I sent this handout to you earlier today. And when I talk, I'm sorry? Oh, by the way, as kind of an aside, because we're all adults in this space, what I've done here is I've asked you to turn on all your microphones, and I've also asked you to turn on all your video. That said, you don't have to do that. Additionally, you can also make it so the participants cannot turn on their microphones without you. You have to judge who your audience is, and you can control it as locked down or as open as you want it to be. And my job today is to show you how to do those various tasks, how to set up those various settings. So what I have here is, like I said, this is the handout that I sent in the URLs today. So what you're seeing is sort of, well, what your environment is. And when I say these things called meeting controls, those are these little guys on the bottom of the screen. So you see my face, and then just below that, you have some of these buttons. So I'm going to describe some of these buttons. Now, as participants, you don't have all of them that I have because I'm the host. So I want to kind of review that to ensure that you're familiar with what those features are and what those functions are. So the number one thing I'm going to talk about to start, frankly, is the participants button. That's what's called meeting participants.
Okay.
You can all kind of, I think you should be able to all see each other. There should be little boxes with all, it's sort of like the Brady Bunch, if you will. Little boxes of each other talking. That's because your video is on. That's here under meeting participants. What I can do is when a person wants to join, you probably noticed that when you tried to join, you were placed in a space called
Just
the
get
meeting.
it. I'm turning you off.
Wait. Can you
What? I didn't hear what he said. I'm sorry.
see them?
I can see one person.
Okay, so you're seeing who's ever speaking.
Can I assist in some way?
I'm not on. I mean, I'm not.
I can hear you, so you're definitely on.
Yeah, but I don't see anything else. I saw a woman a minute ago. Okay.
All right. To whom am I speaking, frankly?
Sylvia Goldbass.
Hi, Sylvia.
Hi.
Okay. So let's try this, Sylvia. I'm going to ask you to turn on your video. So you should now get a little notice saying, the host has asked you to start your video.
Right. And say okay.
Please, if you would.
Yeah. Okay, I did.
Hi, Evelyn.
Hi.
So there you are. Hi.
Yes.
So now that you have that, are you now seeing all the other people?
No.
Okay. So in the upper right-hand corner,
Mm-hmm.
there's going to be a box that says enter, or there should be since full screen.
No.
No,
Nothing.
Okay. Let's try a little something. Okay. Do you have the handout, Sylvia?
A handout?
Yes, I sent 2 documents today in an email.
Oh, no, I did not. I'm
Okay.
sorry.
That's okay. We're going to try to work around this then.
Good.
What I'm trying to get to, friends, to try to help Sylvia, is across the bottom of your screens as participants, you're probably going to have a few buttons. And one of those buttons is mute, so you can turn your audio on and off. And there's another button called stop video, which turns your video on and off. Somewhere across the bottom, there should be a button that says share screen. Everybody have share screen? It should be
Yes.
green. Good. It should be like green with an up arrow.
I have nothing.
So, Sylvia, do you have that or no?
Nope, I do not.
Okay. What kind of device are you working with today, Sylvia?
I'm on an iPad.
Okay, that's going to make life a little more difficult. An
Okay.
iPad has somewhat reduced functionality. Okay,
Mhm.
but I'm familiar with this. What you have, Sylvia, is all these commands about which I'm speaking are upper right-hand corner with the 3 dots.
I don't have any of that.
Okay, so you
I
have a screen with nothing?
I have a screen basically with nothing. It says in red, record in the upper right.
So that's me. I'm recording the session.
Yeah, and then in the bottom, I have your name.
Well, okay. So if you would, tap once on the center of the screen, please.
Ah, now I got stuff.
Now you got to, so in the upper right-hand corner, you should have those 3 dots.
Yes, I do.
So that's what I'm talking about. So those 3 dots are similar to the toolbar on the bottom for everybody else. It really depends on the type of device you have, where the tools are located. But admittedly, Sylvia, an iPad will have fewer features than a
Okay.
full-size computer will.
I have to install it on my laptop.
It would probably make your being the teacher a heck of a lot easier.
Okay, I'm usually a participant, and that's
Okay,
why
no problem.
I'm
My
do
job
that.
today is to make you aware of all the variables, and you'll be able to apply those variables to your situation.
Okay, thank you.
Sure, yeah, that's what we want to help.
Good.
All right, so as I was saying, across the bottom, you have like mute, stop video, or unless you're Sylvia or an iPad user, you have the 3 buttons. You can turn your stuff on
Right.
and off there. You also have a button that says participants. A participants list is where you can see all the other people in the session. Now, what I have right now is I have a feature turned on called chat. Do you guys have a button that says chat somewhere next to participants?
Yes.
Great. What that allows you to do is talk to each other or to me if you had a question. So if you have a large group, what you can do is you can turn on the chat, and while you're presenting, people can ask their questions there, and then you'll get to them as it makes sense in the flow. Or if you had a really big group, you could have a secondary person typing back the answers to questions, or hey, we'll get to that, or whatever it is. That is like what we call in the biz, we call that the back channel, where people can ask questions, and then you'll be able to interact more smoothly instead of everyone interrupting, raising hand, if you want to do it that way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about how to turn these features on and how to turn these features off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen back, and I'm going to log into my personal account. So I've gone, here I am at Zoom, which is my account on Zoom. And the first thing I want to do is I want to show you how to create an event and how to invite people to attend your event. So I'm going to start. Here I am at the old Zoom website. I'm going to go to a link over here on the right-hand side that says My Account. And that's me. And I'm going to go to the second link down that says Meetings. And now I'm going to schedule a new meeting. Right here. Whoever's got a loud television on, could you either mute yourself or turn off your television, please? By the way, I'm going to kind of say that. This is my opening. I should have said this with the opening. I want you to know, as an instructor, you are not going to be as effective as you are in front of a group of people. It's just not possible. Additionally, I'm letting you know, as the instructor, this was not going to be as good as it would be if we were all together in a room. It's better than nothing, for sure, but your efficiency, your ability to get through everything, your ability to read people's faces, as the instructor, you kind of look out in the audience and you say, oh, Samantha looks like she's struggling. Let me walk over and ask Samantha what the problem. You really can't do that. In fact, you probably have noticed that you only can see 4 or 5 cameras at a time. So as the instructor, what I like to do is I like to scroll up and down and kind of get the ability to see people's faces if I can. So that's a technique you're going to have to kind of become familiar with. There's nothing that can be done. It's rather better than nothing. So when you hear a lot of background noise from someone, you will say something like, hey, if there's something loud going on in your space, please, if you would, turn it off, or I can mute all of you. And because we're adults, I don't like to do that, but I do, as the host, I can and I will do that if there's a lot of disruptions going on.
Hey, Mike.
Yes, please, go ahead.
Yes, this is Jerry.
Hi,
I have
Jerry.
a question. I wanted to schedule some friends. I'll be the host, and have downloaded Zoom on my iPad. But what you're just showing right now in terms of setting up a meeting, I have to set up an account, but I could still do a free one?
That's correct. Thank you for bringing that up. That was going to be actually later, but since you asked, let's do it first. You see, I don't mind. Here I am at Zoom, and I'm going to click on prices and plans and pricing, and it will show me what the various features are. Now, I will tell you that I have an upgraded account. I have what's called Pro, and I'll talk about what that means. But most people in the modern day have a free account, and you can have up to 100 people, and it will last, as of now, 40 minutes at a time. So to get around this, what I do is I schedule, well, right now they've relaxed the restriction. It's now unlimited for most people. But if you find yourself they're cutting you off after 40 minutes, I just schedule a second one 40 minutes later and another one 40 minutes later. So that isn't really the perfect support workaround, but it does work. I have had to do that. Other items that allow you to do is just what I'm doing now. I'm recording this. So if you wanted to play it back or you wanted to share it for someone, you could certainly do that. The next one up is called Pro, which is what I have. That's $14 a month per person. And the reason for that is that I can have a meeting that lasts 24 hours. So there's essentially no limit for me to have. I've also paid for an additional upgrade. It's called Webinar, and I can host up to 1,000 people. So when my sessions get really big, I do some other work for like the township. And when there's like meetings and there's big meetings, when several hundred people show up, I did purchase the upgraded account. Additionally, what they'll give you is space online to store the recording. Well, as I'm recording, it's actually being stored on my local computer. Jerry, to answer your, I don't think you'll ever need a business or an enterprise one, frankly.
Right.
That's really for reporting, that's for all kinds of analysis. I don't think you'll ever need that.
So you answered my second question too, I think, because I heard that from someone, that you can, if you run out of time, you're just talking with some friends, say half a dozen friends, but you talk a lot like me, and it's 40 minutes, you go over to 40 minutes, they could just go in using the same link.
Right, you just make a new one.
Yep. Make a new link or the same link?
No, you have to make a whole new appointment. You can't turn it back on again.
Okay.
So what I do is I set up, okay, at 2:40, here's a new one. And at 3:20, here's a new one. At 4 o'clock, here's a new one. It's a little bit of a pain. Now, if I was doing this with friends, I might use a different tool. I might use Skype, which is unlimited. I might use FaceTime, which is unlimited. This has got a lot more kind of like instructional features. But if you're just hanging out with your buddies, this is probably not the tool I would use because of the time limitation, frankly. I would use something like Skype or FaceTime or something like that. We can talk later if you want. Anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump back to the settings now. But it's under prices and planning.
Mike, a quick question on that
Go
one.
ahead.
When you set it up, sometimes I see it says meeting ID.
Yes.
Sometimes it says password, and sometimes as a participant, I have to put in
Oh, yes.
But other times it just automatically goes in. And then
You're right. I'm going to show that. I'm going to do that right now, in fact. I will be honest with you. I never, ever create an event without a password. The rationale is people are jerks. There's a technique called Zoom bombing.
Yeah.
It's a little less prevalent now because people have gotten wise to it. But I could type in a random 10-digit number, and there's no password. I just jump in, and I'm into the meeting. And you probably also noticed that I had this thing called the waiting room, that you couldn't just jump in. I had to let you in.
Mm-hmm.
So I recommend strongly the waiting room, and I recommend strongly setting up the password. However, you probably noticed that you didn't have to enter anything. I have a password, but you just clicked on that link and got in. So that's what I want to show today. I want to show the various ways you do this. Oh, and by the way, the handout that I sent that I hope most of you got, there are short 10 or 20 or 30-second videos that go over these little pieces.
Oh,
So one of those videos shows this exact thing: how to create a meeting, how to install a password onto it, and how to send it to your participants with the password as part of the link. So don't worry about, hey, don't get me wrong. If you want to write down, be my guest, but you don't have to. I've prepared a series of videos that you could refer back to. Additionally, this is being recorded, and I'll share this recording with you. So you'll also have something that you can reference.
I have a question.
Yes, please, go ahead, Julian. Jeanette?
Does everybody, do all the participants have to have a Zoom account or Zoom
No.
set up?
It's only if you're the host.
oh,
So let me talk to that. Thank you, Jeanette. These are, by the way, I appreciate interruptions. I want that, because frankly, me talking at you for an hour is going to be terrible. So thank you. Please, anytime you have a question, anybody, jump in and talk at me. So to answer your question, what I could do is simply go to zoom.us, hit join a meeting, and it's going to ask me for the numbers. I do not have to have an account to join a session. Only if you're hosting.
Thank you.
Oh, glad to help, sure. So once again, it's Zoom, and I am going to go to my account here. And then I'm going to say meetings. So here we are. Here's today's. It's running. Green ball means it's running. But I'm going to schedule a new one. So I select schedule a new meeting. And I'll call it, I don't know, night moves or something. I don't know. Sample session for, yeah. Be really great if I could spell. It gives you a when. So I'll say tonight, and I'll say at, I don't know, 10:30 p.m. However, you can actually start it whenever you want.
oh,
The reason for the setting of the time is it will make a calendar appointment that you can share. But as you probably noticed, for those of you who got here a few minutes early, it didn't start at 7. You were able to join much earlier. So this is simply a placeholder. The same thing with the duration. I can say however long I want it. It doesn't mean that my account will last that long if you have a limited account, but it will just make the appointment for you. So I'm saying from 10:30 p.m. for 3 hours or 2 hours or whatever it is. Now, down here it says meeting ID. It's going to randomly generate it because you don't want anyone just jumping on. And then I absolutely positively recommend the meeting password. You don't have to use the one they've given you there. You could simply say, I don't know, 9999 or whatever you want. Password, whatever. But I absolutely recommend putting a password in. Additionally, I always have the participant's video turned off to start. That is because when, as you noticed, you were in the waiting room and you didn't know when I was letting you in. You just were let in when I saw your name. I never want my participants to be surprised. Like, I wasn't ready. Ooh, like I was doing something. I don't want that. So I always turn the audio off to start, and then I unmute you. And I turn the video off to start, and then I request that you turn it on. And you don't have to. The only
Hey, Mike.
time that I force people to turn on their video is when I'm working with high school and middle school students, and I want to make sure that they're really themselves. because I have had incidences where Johnny types in that he's Samantha, acts like a jerk in the chat, and then Samantha gets in trouble. So I've learned that I ask people to, and again, we're adults here, I'm not worried about it, but for younger children, high school, middle school, etc., I say, you don't turn it on all the time. I just want to make sure you're you.
Excuse me, Mike.
Yes, please, go ahead.
Jerry again. So,
Yes, sir.
so say you, you know, you're hosting it with friends, blah, 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 and the video you have off to begin with when you start the meeting. Do you have to go back to the screen to put it back on again? Or could...
What I do is, again, if you look at, there's a panel that says participants. What I'm going to do really quick is I'm going to actually share what that looks like. Give me just 1 minute. There we go. So I'm going to stop this share. And then I'm going to show you what that looks like. Here we go. Give me just 1 minute, friends. So share screen. And this one. Okay, so this is what it looks like from my side. So I see Ernest, I see Neil, I see Susanna, I see Jerry, and this blue arrow allows me to scroll up and down through the people.
Okay.
In the
Now, you
center,
said, I'm sorry, you
Jerry?
said you see me, but I don't see my picture on the gallery. Is that something I probably just missed when I logged in?
Well, no, it's because I can only, when I'm sharing my screen, I can only see a few people at a time because I want to see what I'm showing. If they had everyone still up, I couldn't see what I was showing. So what I like to do as the instructor is I hit on this up and down, these up and down blue arrows, and that scrolls through the people. I can't see everyone at once, but what I do like to do is, again, kind of keep an eyeball on faces. You can't do everybody. So I see Jeanette's nodding at me. Like, I feel good about that. So, no, and that's good. So that's what you want. You want that nonverbal feedback that people, or if you get a lot of like you get that mad face, like, oh, I guess Mike isn't happy. So what's up? But you just can't do it with everybody. So I'm saying that I like to scroll up and down the list to look at people. So Jerry is super intent. He's got his hand on his chin. He's on it. Like, I feel good about, I can move on to someone else. That's what I'm saying. But you have to scroll up and down the list. Additionally, in the center there, you can see my participants list. The people who have the red and the line through it, that means that their video is off. The people where the camera is like white with a white outline, that means the video is on. Let me zoom in on it because I just saw Jerry kind of squinting, so it's hard to see. Is that a little easier to see, Jerry?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Jane and Sylvia and Ernest, their video is on. And all this means that all the microphones are on. So you can see I had this button that says mute all, and I can unmute all. Meaning that if people are being rambunctious, I just say, everybody shut up for a second, I'm talking. And once I go ahead.
Could the host, okay, so when I joined, I didn't put the video on. Can the host do it from your end?
I can invite you to turn it on.
I see.
Because you might not want me to see you. Who knows what you're doing or what I don't want to look into your house and break your privacy.
So how would you do that?
What I would do is I'm glad that's good. Right, very next thing. What I would do is I would right click, say I want to invite Bruce. I would right click on that red slash with the camera on it, and Bruce would get a message that says, host is inviting you to turn on your camera. And he can say yes or no. If he says no, I get a notified that says Bruce refused, or I forget what the exact wording is, but it's like, hey, he didn't do it. Oh, he'll turn it on later. That's what it says. It says he'll turn it on later.
Mike, what does go slower or go faster mean on the bottom?
What that means is if I turn off the chat, I can allow what's called nonverbal communication. So I can say, hey, everybody, are we good? And then people can press the button, yes, no, go slower, go faster, or more. So that prevents the chat, because again, depending on your environment, you may or may not want the chat to work. Like you may not want them all talking to each other. But I can get some nonverbal communication, particularly if I've turned off all the microphones.
And how as host will you get that? Will you get a
There'll be
tally?
Yeah, there'll be you guys should have the chat feature right now.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you should have those buttons available to you. Yes, no, faster, go slower.
Just a Zoom.
We did on your screen, not now.
Yeah, Zoom.
Yeah,
group chat
same thing
screen.
here.
You don't have those.
I log in via Facebook, so that's why I'm logged. Just accident.
I might have that turned off, frankly. I've been playing with the settings.
Jerry.
I'm going to show you how to turn that on and off in just a second. Frankly, I might have it turned off based on the last class I just did. So with that, let me get back to the settings. Oh, one other thing of note. There's a security feature. Again, if you look in the handout, it looks like a shield with like checkerboards on it.
What are those lights we're talking about?
If I was concerned and I had someone in the class who I didn't think should be there, I can boot them out, and then they will never be able to come back in. So that's the shield under security. And what I'll do, give me just a second or two, I'll show you what that looks like. It's this one. Give me just a second. I'll fire that up. So I will share this screen. And... Oh, not that one. Sorry, hold on. It's this one, yeah. It's okay, he can move the chair. It's not that big a deal. Okay, so again, this is my screen. You can see in the bottom left corner, I have this button called security.
Yeah.
And that allows me to do a bunch of things. I can turn on and off the chat. I can lock the meeting. So if everyone's in, no one else can get in. That's this guy right here, lock meeting at the top.
Ah.
And if I find someone is like, they're not supposed to be there, I can remove them and they cannot come back. Even if they know that's sort of like you're getting kicked out of class. Or if someone shouldn't be there, I can just remove them.
Now, how and when did you let us in from the waiting room?
When in the participants list, I'm going to go back to the, there's a thing, when you have participants, I think it should say like 14. Do you have the participants?
Yes.
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 I get a little red dot saying that someone is trying to get in. And at the top of the participants list, it also shows me something called the waiting room. And I can say admit or not. So if there's people I know, and again, I kind of looked at the roster before class started, so I kind of had an idea. But again, if I'm dealing with a classroom that I know that only certain people are supposed to be there, I will ask them to turn on. I will let people in based on their name or not based on their name. And if they've given me a fake name, I let them in one at a time. And I say, turn on your camera. And if you're not the right person, I tell you what, they don't do that anymore. One or two kids tried and there were some consequences. And now they don't try anymore because they know that I pay attention. Again, so let me get back to the part where you put on the password to prevent that in the first place in most cases. This is good stuff. You know, we're going in an order, but it's the order that it seems to be working. So, boom. Okay, so now we're back. At least I hope we are. No, we're not. Hold on. I picked the wrong one. That was a screenshot. I want to go live. There we go. Okay, so video on for me, off for participants. I'm letting you use either your computer or the phone, though most people don't use phone. And I also say mute participants upon entry. Again, they might not be ready. They're on the phone, the TV is going, they're just waiting to get in, and all of a sudden they're in. Like, I might not want to hear your conversation. You might not want me to hear your conversation. So I always have mute on and video off to start. And I also say enable the waiting room, meaning you're going to sit there until I let you in. So those are the settings that I'm going to go with. And then I will say save. Now, what will happen is it will say to me, hey, do you want to add this to your Google Calendar? Probably. Additionally, I have this thing here called the invite link. This includes both the meeting ID number, and this code right here is the password. This PWD equals blah, 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 that big long thing. So if you send that to the people who you want to be in your meeting, they're not going to have to enter a password because the link has the password in it. But if I was a jerk, I could just randomly type in 10-digit numbers and just see what happens. I don't want you to have to face that. So I recommend meeting room on, video off, password enabled. So I'm going to add this to my Google Calendar, like so. It will say, hey, are you sure you want to do this? Yes, yes, I am. And then if they were people with whom I worked regularly, I would be able to add them right here in the guest list. I could type in their email address and they would get an invitation in their email with the link and it would show up on their calendar.
Mike, how did you get, I see the links and then I also see meeting IDs and password.
Mm-hmm.
How does the person who gets the email see that, the meeting ID and the password? Will they see it?
It's part of that link.
So it'll show up automatically?
Yes, ma'am. Also, I don't know if you can see my screen here,
Yeah.
but where it says Mike is inviting you to a scheduled Zoom meeting, it tells you right here that here's the meeting ID and here's the password.
And that all happens by?
Yes, yes, ma'am. When you hit that link that says make Google Calendar event,
Yeah.
all of that is part of the programming.
Oh.
So yeah, I heard a huh. That's like the favorite sound I hear all day. Huh. Like, ooh, that's cool.
So Mike,
yeah.
Mike, so you're sending that link, that long link, but it'll automatically populate on the participant's email, the ID on a separate line and the password on a separate
That's correct.
line. Okay.
So,
but you have to save it to the calendar. It's only the Google Calendar, not a Safari?
No, you can use, let me discard this. Yeah. It's any calendaring tool. Okay. They have Google, they have Outlook, they have Yahoo, which are kind of some of the big players. And then you can also just save it however you save your own calendar events. But these are the big players, Google, Outlook, and Yahoo.
Okay.
And those guest emails, when you're inviting a guest, were those being populated from like your Outlook?
Actually, what it did is I just copied this. So let me go back. I'm glad you brought that up. So what I could do is I just go back to here. I just see this as a link that says copy invitation. Mm-hmm. I just copy the invitation and then there it is. And then I just pasted that into an email to all of you.
Mike, I assume whenever you host a meeting, the link just is there. You yourself don't have to create the link.
100% right, Jerry.
Okay.
As you can see, that just made it for me. I didn't type all that in.
Yeah.
So the programming is actually pretty good. Like they've kind of made it as easy as they can make it, but also building in the security. But I'm asking you to help yourself by enabling the meeting room and ensuring there's a password on. So Ernest, you may have, your meetings that you joined may have had a password, but you didn't care because you just clicked the link that had the password built into it.
Right.
And that's what I'm hoping for. I don't want my people to have to do extra work to get in. But I want to be secure.
Yeah.
Hey, Mike, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, it's fine.
So if you're saving it to a calendar.
Yes, sir.
And I'm on an Apple iPad or Mac or so forth. That's not one of the three. I don't know what calendar it uses. I mean, I use the calendar on it, but
Yeah, the calendar for Apple is called an ICS calendar. Frankly, that's not going to cut it. I'm just going to have to send it to you in an email, frankly.
Okay. Or
Sorry
I
about
should add a Google Calendar or one of those
You
onto
could,
an Apple device.
you could, if this is something that you're going to do a lot, then yeah, you might, you can just subscribe to a Google Calendar.
Mhm.
So you could do that.
Okay.
So now that I have my meeting set up, I want to talk about some more of the settings that will help you customize your experience the way you want it to be. So the first thing I've done is I've made a meeting, and then 3 down, 1, 2, 3 is this area called settings. I want to talk about the settings here. Here we go. So some of this is similar. Yeah, hosted video starts, participants video is off. This is familiar. A little further down, yes, I'm enforcing a password has to be on. And I'm also, yeah, this is also important. If you want, you can do an instant meeting. We're not going to even bother with that. Everyone has to have a password, and I mute people upon entry. This is where you turn chat on and off. Depending on your environment, you can turn chat on and off. It depends on how many people are in the room and whether or not you want to try to monitor that. If you don't want to chat, you just turn it off.
Can a participant send a message only to the host, or do they always come to everyone?
Yes, if I have chat turned on, in fact, try it now. You should have the ability to chat with me. If you hit on chat, you should have
Right.
2 options, to everyone or to
Okay.
just me. That's because, as you can see a little further down, I have the option private chat turned off, meaning just what you saw. You can only
Yep.
chat with me or everyone. Private chat means all of you could chat with everybody else, and only the 2 people involved could see it.
Cool.
On a personal note, I don't like that as an instructor. That's the equivalent of letting them pass notes. I'm not, again, I'm thinking of, like, you know, the middle school, but unlike a note where a teacher can say, Billy, what are you doing? Like, I can't do that here. So, hey, if you're going to chat, use your own phone, then I don't care. I've never said to a student, but you know, you could, but I don't want to give them the opportunity here. So I've enabled chat, but not for everybody.
So every time you set up a new meeting, you come here and make the adjustments?
No, again, for my world, Jeanette, this is pretty much what I don't have it right now, but like I leave it and I set it. Like I don't have to come here every single time. Only if I want to change something. So for this class, I turn chat on, but generally when I'm instructing, I don't have chat turned on. Mainly because I can't monitor it. Because I'm typically teaching computers, so I'm typically sharing my screen. Oh, I can see that someone did chat something.
That was me.
They did say something. iPad 3 Jerry said test.
That's me. I just want to see if it works. Okay.
It does indeed. And I get a little red ball that tells me somebody said something. And we have a participant who is trying to attend. So again, those little red balls I got to keep track of. Hello, National Deaf Culture Fellowship. Thank you for coming today.
Could be cumbersome if somebody comes in the middle of your teaching.
That's correct, Jeanette. You can make your own policy. As I mentioned, you have the ability to lock it. That if they're late, they're late. And I'm not going to allow them late. On the other hand, you could say, you know what? Come in, go as you please. It's your choice. I'm going to teach. You're responsible for the content. Your choice. It's really up to you. But that is what happened. You're right. Like I have to keep my eyes up on the top there where those little red monitors come in. Like I didn't see Jerry's chat until just recently because, well, he did it a while ago, but I didn't notice it. So what I generally do is I generally don't turn the chat on. But in this case, I did just so you could see what was available. Furthermore, I also have the ability to turn on and off what we call a poll. Like I can ask you a question, you can respond to the question. So that helps me guide the session. So in other questions, I said, at the end, what did you learn today? Or how effective was today's class? Or just simple yes, no, maybe kinds of things, just for some immediate feedback. But to answer your question, Jeanette, getting back to the original question, I usually set it up and then I just leave it because that's how I like my class. You don't have to do it every single time. Right. File transfer is something that you might consider. That gives you the ability to send documents through Zoom. I generally don't like to do that, in part because it's not perfectly reliable. I usually like to give people the handout of the documents ahead of time. But it is possible if you have an audience you've never worked with before. So there's the polling thing I was talking about. You can do a co-host. A co-host is just what you think it is. That person also has the ability to do what I'm doing. Additionally, the co-host is typically a person that I use if we have someone who is deaf and hard of hearing. They can do the closed captioning. Now, I will say that if you have a classroom where there are many students who are deaf and hard of hearing, don't use Zoom. Google Meet is a better tool. Google Meet's closed captioning is automatic. It will do it without anyone's intervention. Whereas Zoom, you can do it, but someone has to be typing it. So yeah, it's there, but I don't like it. It's not as effective. So if you do have an environment, and I bring that up in part because one of our participants is National Deaf Culture Fellowship. For a deaf and hard of hearing situation, this is not the tool. Okay, so like I said, we have co-hosts and we have polling, and there's screen share. That would be useful. Again, you're seeing my screen, but what I was trying to do before with Sylvia, I think, was Sylvia was saying that she was having a computer problem. I don't see what you're seeing. My screen doesn't look like that. What I could do is I would say, stop my share. And I would say, okay, anybody else, everybody in the audience, would you be so kind as to share your screen? Let's pretend you're having trouble. Someone, anyone.
Let me see.
Yeah, I'll do it.
Please, Jane, that'd be great if you could. So you should have a button at the bottom that says share screen.
Okay, share screen. Okay,
Please.
there you go. That's what I got. I don't know. I got share. Oh, I have to do share. Hold on.
Yes, please. You got to tell me what it is you want to share.
Okay.
So, okay, so I can see, oh, Jane, what you have to do here is at the top, type, whatever it is. So
Okay.
what I'm saying is you as the host can switch places. So if your student is saying, I don't see that, mine doesn't look like that. It's so what you say is, hey, I'll stop the screen share your screen with me, and then I can see what you're seeing.
Yeah. Cool.
So I kind of like that function.
Amazing.
So if you would.
Question, Mike. I've done that and my picture doesn't appear. Is that because I was using an iPad?
Yes,
That's a
100%
deficiency?
right.
Okay.
You don't, an iPad is much more viable as a participant, not as viable as a host.
Okay.
So what I would recommend you do, if you have it, use a more full-size machine if you can to be the host. Like I'm hosting on my laptop. If your laptop doesn't have a camera, do what I'm doing over here. I have Neil Armstrong as my secondary participant. And if you can see that in the gallery of people, I have a second person. This is me. I can see what the students are seeing over here. And then I'm instructing over here. Not everyone has two devices. I know that. But I found, unfortunately, that an iPad isn't really great for hosting.
And you mentioned earlier about not being able, for iPads aren't really great in terms of seeing the stuff on the bottom, you know, the buttons. Now, I'm on an iPad now, I'm a participant, but
That's correct.
but I was in previous Zoom meetings with some other friends of mine, and I was new to Zoom. I was having a hard time seeing any of the buttons on the bottom.
Yeah, you have to tap the screen one time to bring them up. That was the same issue that Sylvia was having earlier when she was telling me she didn't see anything.
Go away.
That's because it will go away after, 10, 15 seconds.
Yeah,
But to make them available, you have to tap one time to, hey, iPad, I want those tools. I want those tools up.
Is that the ones that are showing? No, they go away.
Getting back to where you talked about having a second participant, suppose as an instructor, your Wi-Fi goes down. Can the second participant just take over and be the...
Can your co-host? Absolutely.
Suppose is your second participant your co-host?
No, my second participant is me, again, as a student. Neil Armstrong is my student account.
Oh, so that's two separate accounts.
Yes, ma'am. That's someone entirely different.
You accepted the meeting as Neil Armstrong, and
That's correct. That's correct. I have a fake email address called Neil Armstrong.
So if something happened to your Wi-Fi as the instructor, could Neil Armstrong then carry the meeting on? Like a backup plan?
I'm in the same room though. If my Wi-Fi goes down in my house, it's going to affect both.
Oh, but what if it's on an iPad that has a cell phone?
Then you're right. That second person could carry on.
So that could be like a backup plan.
That is true.
Oh, okay.
I generally use my second device as a student. Okay. And the reason is, as an instructor, again, all of you have been very good, by the way, telling me, hey, I don't see that, or I have a question, or whatever. I have come, unfortunately, people are like, they're all of a sudden silent. I'm like, what's going on? They're like, yeah, we don't see what you're saying, and you've been talking for 10 minutes. So what I like to do every once in a while is I'll look to my left, my other device is off to my left, to make sure that what I'm saying is actually what the students are seeing. Like, I can see what you're seeing over here as Neil, and then I'm instructing back over here.
Good idea.
Yeah, I come up with them every once in a while. Thank you for saying so. Last but not least, I have this tool called Annotation, and that's like a pen that I can draw on the screen with. So right here, I can do email notifications. I don't do that a ton because everybody can draw on my screen at the same time. So generally don't, I generally, but it's available. My job is to show you what's there. You can use it or not.
How'd you get that annotation?
There's a little slider here called Annotation. You don't have it. I have it turned off for you.
Oh, I see. Okay. Oh, there it is. Oh, yeah, right there. I got it.
So you can go ahead. You can try to draw you should be able to draw on my screen here.
No. No, you draw with the mouse?
Yes, correct. You hit the annotation little pencil and should give you like different symbols or a pen or something. Check mark. I don't
see a pencil. It's on, but I don't see a pencil.
Maybe I just turned it on recently.
Oh, okay.
I frankly don't use it a ton. Again, It depends on your environment. I'm gonna erase that. Okay.
What was the email notification if I don't?
Email notification means that if I ever were to cancel it, you'd be notified it was canceled. I'm going to get to that just a little while further down.
Okay.
Oh, so here's your this is your nonverbal feedback that allows you to go faster, slower, yes, no, whatever. I don't care if participants rename themselves. I did have a guy one time who his first name was Seymour, and he made his last name Butts. I'm not kidding. So I booted him from the room. He came back with his right name. I do recommend this, report participants to Zoom. So if you do have someone who jumps in and they shouldn't, you can report them using that same security button. Now, the next thing I'm going to show here is something called a breakout room. And what a breakout room, and this is my favorite feature in Zoom. None of the other video services have this. This is the way you do small group instruction. And a breakout room is just what you might think it is. It is a way for me to put you in small groups where you can work with each other. So I'm going to invite you to breakout rooms right now. So if you would, please accept the invitation to the breakout room.
I don't see one.
Where are we accepting, sir?
You probably want to tap your screen and see if it's there. You should have gotten, and then Mike is inviting you to breakout room 3 or breakout room 2 or something like that.
I don't.
I don't see it.
No, I don't see it. No. Okay.
here we go.
Now, join, got it.
Sometimes it takes a second to get there.
It just popped up.
Okay, good.
So if we say leave room, we'll just go out of the breakout room and back to the full.
That's
I
correct.
think he's going to move us back in. I'm not
Well,
sure.
both can happen. See, this is me as the teacher,
Yeah.
going from group to group, checking on your work,
Okay.
as you would in any other small group instruction. So, to answer your question, you're both right. You can leave when you want, but when I want you to all come back,
You
I
get
will
us back.
close all the rooms and you'll be forced to come back.
Got it.
So I'm now going to jump to a different room. Okay, hey, you guys are on task. You're doing great. I'm going to jump and go to a different room to make sure they're on task.
Okay.
I'm going to leave this breakout room.
Yeah.
Eating or what?
Mine says leave the room
Oh, where do you see that?
in the lower right corner.
Oh.
I'm on a laptop.
Oh.
If you're on an iPad, you'll just tap on it and it'll bring up the ability to leave the room. So
Oh.
again, this is me as the teacher going from group to group.
That is so cool.
It is really great
Wow.
for small group instruction.
Mhm.
So, hey, you're doing your thing, you're talking it out, you're peer editing, you're discussing whatever it is you're doing. And as the instructor, I can jump from room to room,
Oh, that is so
get-
cool.
Wow.
walk from table to table to make sure
Mhm.
people are on task. And hey, do you have any questions? Oh, you guys seem like you're great. So I'm now going to go to a different room.
Well, don't go because we felt alone.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, I gotta move on.
I
So-
tap my screen. I don't see it saying leave breakout room. I'm on an iPad. It's not that important.
I don't know. Like you should be able to. I'm not sure yet. Let me
Okay.
figure it out.
There he is. Hi, Mike.
Hi, everybody.
We thought we were locked in a room forever.
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
It
So
should be called the escape room.
well, you have the ability to jump out of whenever you want. But the idea is,
Yeah.
as the instructor, I can go from room to room.
Okay.
Just, are you guys on task? Do you have any questions? That kind of stuff.
I like that.
Yeah.
That's
It's
Yeah.
really nice for small group instruction.
Mhm.
So
Very
now what I've done is
Now I got it.
I've told everybody that the breakout rooms are going to close in just a few seconds. If they do nothing, they're still going to get pushed back into the main room.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I just saw
Yeah,
that.
yeah. Okay.
So that's
was fun.
that's a feature I really like.
Mhm.
This is also really great for party games. If you want to,
Oh, yeah.
if you want to talk to your partner, you go into the breakout room. You talk about strategy. Again, I'm a super nerd. Just like Jerry, we use this for parties. We have a trivia game every other Friday, and
Ooh.
we do a Zoom. It's stupid. No, you don't want to hang out.
No.
My other friend does a virtual cocktail party. That one's a lot more fun. I don't get into that. But yeah, we use the breakout rooms for, discussing the question. Is that your final answer? Stuff like that.
That's cool.
It's
Nice.
just a way for us, because we don't see each other anymore, to kind of hang out with each other. Anyway, so that's what I'm talking about when I say breakout rooms. Now, what's interesting is if you're doing a webinar with, the different setup with the more than 100 people, breakout room is not available.
Oh.
So, because again, with an audience that big, there'd be no really way for you to get to the breakout rooms. There'd be just too many of them. Let's see, what are further down? Oh, this is the virtual background thing that Jeanette's got going. So you can allow the people to do virtual backgrounds. It's a fun thing, but you need a pretty fast device to do it. It will not work on an iPad. This is me where I'm saying everyone's in the waiting room to start, all participants. And then these are all the email notifications. When it's canceled, when people are going to join, if someone else is going to join, I leave this all on. I rather let people know automatedly rather than having to do it by hand, frankly. So those are the settings about which I'm concerned. I know there was a lot of them there, but again, when in doubt, I turn off a feature so I have control over the session. And if I find that, that wasn't as effective as I wanted it to be, then I would, in fact, turn it back on. So the question I just got was, how do I get other virtual backgrounds other than the standard? What you can do is you can upload, but you don't do it through the Zoom website. You do it on the software. I forget exactly where the setting is. So if you send me an email, National Deaf Culture Fellowship, I will find the screenshot and I will get it to you.
Okay.
So again, there's an example of having the chat feature there, when she wanted to ask the question. Okay, so what we've done is we've talked about the settings so far, and we've talked about how to invite people to a meeting.
Mike, could I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
If you're not using a Google Calendar or an Outlook calendar to do the invitations, how would you do the invitations then by email?
Well, let me get back to it and show you exactly. What I would do is I would copy the invitation. So
right.
I'm going to go back to my meetings over here on the left.
Right.
And here is the meeting, Night Moves.
Right.
I go into it. And then on the right-hand side, there's a link that says copy invitation.
Right, okay.
And here it is.
Okay.
I select copy invitation.
Mm-hmm.
And then I go to my email and email it out.
And just email. Okay, great. Got it.
Should be how you received it today.
Okay.
Because I didn't have access to your calendars.
Yeah. Okay, that's what I thought. I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So Mike, related to that question then, when you do that, say you're going to send it by your own email, you don't have to put the invitee's email address in because you're not using Outlook calendar?
Well, yes, Jerry, you would need to put their email address in.
Anyway.
Because
okay.
There'd be no way for you to get it to them otherwise.
Yeah.
Okay, you just don't populate your regular email with their name.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I'm glad you asked the question. All right. So let me go to the agenda. Make sure the agenda is a lot of times for me to make sure I don't miss something, honestly. Here it is. Okay, so this is the document you should have received. If you don't get it or you don't have it in your email, I'll send it to you again. So in the upper right-hand corner, that's my example of how you could, the most effective way I've found for setting up your environment. So I have my chair and the computer on which I am presenting right ahead of me. I put the secondary machine to my left, and this diagram, of course, is to the right, just to kind of make sure that you're seeing what I'm seeing, what I'm saying you should be seeing. And then I have the light source a little bit off to the side. I recommend trying to avoid being immediately backlit because that puts your face in shadow, which makes it difficult to see. So some of you out there are in fact quite backlit. I'm not going to mention you by name, but it's difficult for me to see your faces, and therefore it's difficult for me to react to you when I'm getting those nonverbal cues.
Oh, yeah.
So try not to be backlit if you can. I get it. You know, sometimes you can. The other thing is,
Mike?
Yes, sir. Go ahead, Jerry.
So as a participant, and maybe, I don't know, 3 or 4 of these in the past 6 weeks, one thing I was told by, the host or whatever, and these are friends, it's just like my screenshot of my head in, whereas everyone else, you see the room, the background, and they say, put a book underneath or move further away. It still doesn't seem right. What advice would you give?
I'm seeing your whole body, Jerry.
Okay.
It really, I'm going to do it. I don't like to do this, but if I did this, you'd see my nose a lot bigger. But I generally like to sit reasonably far away, so I'm not up in your mug. I think you're fine, Jerry. I see your shoulder, I see your hand, I see your face.
I just can't see myself because I didn't do the audio.
So I don't think it's a huge deal. Like Evelyn's a little closer than you. Nancy is a little bit further away. You're going to have to kind of physically position yourself.
And it should be eye level, the middle of the screen?
I recommend that. Mine's actually a little bit higher than eye level. I'm not actually looking at the camera. I know I'm kind of taking you behind the curtain a little bit here, but I find myself looking at myself while I'm teaching. Because I don't do that. I can't do that normally. Like, how does this guy actually look? Boy, my eyebrows jump up and down on my face a ton. You're like, boy, that guy's got a weird facial tic. Now, of course, you can't unsee that. You're going to see that for the rest of the class. I apologize. All right. A couple other things of note. The people at Zoom came up with a security update not that long ago. It's now version 5.0 or higher. Anything version 4 and earlier will stop working as of the end of May. So if you haven't yet done so, tell your friends, yourself, update your version of the software.
Will they send an automatic update, or you have to go in and get it? Okay.
If it's an iOS or it's an Android, yes, you'll get a notification. Like in the App Store, you'll have a little number.
No, yeah.
But if it's a Windows machine or it's it's a Mac, when you open up the software, you'll get that notice. It'll say a new version is available. Update.
Okay.
If you do not update, it will stop working end of the month.
Okay.
So again, a couple other things. Oh, one other thing that you could do is, I don't know if you've noticed, but I'm in my basement, so I'm away from people. So I recommend that if you can. I have a piece of plastic behind me cutting the basement in half, sort of making a little privacy screen. Again, you want to try to do that. I know, you might live in an apartment, you might live in a townhouse. The neighbors upstairs might be doing the cha-cha on over your head all the time. Nothing you can do. We talked about participants for the meeting. We talked about going to the full meeting. We talked about breakout rooms and polls. Oh, yes. Like I said, Pacer will be slower than live. You're not going to be as good. There's just nothing you can do about it. And, one other item that's available in the Pro version that I want to talk to is, if you wanted to, with the paid version, you can stream live to YouTube and Facebook. You cannot do that with the standard free version. So a lot of, again, the mayor's offices, when there's town council meetings, stuff like that, they like to broadcast it on YouTube also. That doesn't allow for participants to interact like being in the Zoom meeting is. But again, it's a thing if you wanted to do it. So in this handout you're seeing here, these little links, they're going to take you to the videos that I've prepared. So if you're not sure about how to do the calendar, for example, what I did was I made a little video that shows you how to do it. So this is me typing in an appointment. And they're only like a few seconds long. They're like maybe 20, 30 seconds long. So this is the exact process that I did before with you. So if you didn't get it or you didn't write it down or like I missed a step halfway through, those links in that handout will get you to these videos that re-explain what I've explained tonight.
Mike, can you send that email again? Because I didn't even notice those, so I probably.
All right, I'll tell you what, Jane, I'll send it to everybody later tonight or tomorrow morning.
Yeah, I printed it and then I deleted it, so. 'cause I
Okay.
didn't-
No, it's super easy to do. And here you go. Here's the calendar. So it's super straightforward. It's not a big deal.
Hey, Mike?
Yes, sir.
You said you're recording this.
Yep.
Under the free version, can you send out the recording to participants?
Not simultaneously. What you
No, I mean, even after the meeting.
Oh, yeah. It just becomes a video file. Now, it's going to be a huge video file. You won't be able to email it to them, frankly. What I generally do is I post it to YouTube and then I share the YouTube link. Generally speaking, every hour is 250 megs of space.
Wow.
Yeah, they're way too big to send. So when I do 3 and 4 hour meetings with the mayor's offices, I have to store it on the local computer first.
Grammarly does
Stop it.
more than catch errors.
That's one of the problems with YouTube. You'll get an advert. It will not do it on the iPad. There's just not enough space.
Yeah, okay. No, I'm not going to do that.
I'm just saying, just so you know.
Yeah, no, that's good to know.
In fact, so those are, again, what you should have gotten in your email is this little agenda that has intermediate, little short videos. And you also should have received a 1-page document that's sort of like all about Zoom, like all the like all the buttons I mentioned, what the screen looks like, stuff like that. So it looks like this, what the buttons look like, and then all the meeting control. These are all the things that, so for example, there's security. You don't have that because you're not the host. I have that, which allows me to, like you saw, I could throw you out, I could turn on chat, I could turn off chat. So this is kind of like a 1-page document. So if you didn't take notes, don't worry. This is the notes for you. So what I'll do is I'll send this all out to everybody, both documents to everybody, later tonight or tomorrow morning. So you have it. You don't have to worry about it.
Mike, one quick question. Is there any reason why you would have to dial in anytime with the phone to get the audio?
Well, yes and no. Again, this is more of this was initially meant for a professional environment. So I've been in sessions where someone's in a car. They're driving and they're listening in. They won't see the video, of course. Or, I did have a colleague who was on a train. So he was participating, he was listening, but so
basically if you don't have the internet.
Yeah, if you're using an audio device only, if you're using a phone only. Yeah. Okay. But most of the time, most computers have both a mic and speakers, so you can hear and speak simultaneously.
Right, and if it says enable computer audio, you want to do that.
That's correct. That's what we're actually doing.
Yeah, okay.
Some people use a headset, like an earbuds and a mic. You don't have to do that. I know some people swear by it. It's really, again, it's personal preference, really.
Okay. Thanks.
So that's the spiel. Any other questions I can answer?
Very useful.
Okay, good. Well, I'm glad you felt that way. So like I said, you'll get the documents tonight. And if you ever have a question, don't be a stranger. I've been getting emails from participants in sessions since 2001. I was in your class in 2006. Fine, just send them. Don't feel weird. All right, everybody, have a great